That was great, Lakshmi. Hello, everyone. I'm Ramesh Raskar. I'm faculty member here at MIT Media Lab and also co-founder of the Emerging Worlds Special Interest Group. I think it's just about a year ago at the Members Week in 2015, I was the host of that event for all of Media Lab. And our theme was emergence. And we looked at how data, people, and objects are emerging and making an impact in unique ways. And since that meeting a year ago where we kind of presented our intention to start an effort in emerging worlds, we have come a long way. So to take you back a little bit, this is too detailed, maybe just show something simple. Just to kind of take us back, we live in a very confusing world. I mean, most of us took, transport to come here from using a company that doesn't own any taxes. We're going to consume media from a company that doesn't own any media. And, we're going to learn in, school, learn without schools. We're going to grow food without farms. It's a really confusing world because of the transformation that we are seeing. But what's even more interesting is in emerging worlds, this leapfrog is happening right in front of us, but we just think of that as the rest of the world just catching up with the rich world. But in fact, this transformation is happening extremely fast. For us at MIT Media Lab, the whole world is our lab. We don't want to just stay in Cambridge and think about what are the problems or even send scouting teams to see what are some problems and work on it here, but we truly want to engage in co-innovation. So the key theme for emerging worlds is co-innovation and how we can work with everyone else. So some of the efforts we did through seed funding from the Tata Center here at MIT is start looking at solutions for the blind, solutions for the visually challenged, and also creating superhuman vision. And through that effort, we started a center in collaboration with LV Prasad Eye Institute in Hyderabad, and that's up and running. And we have several projects that are being co-developed here at MIT as well as in Hyderabad, and they're getting deployed in large numbers. And based on that experience, we thought, okay, let's expand beyond the human vision and look at health in general. And we started collaborating with many entities here in Boston, with MGH and many medical institutes and across faculty on campus. And we created a lot of so-called spot and probe exercises, which is what we're going to do this afternoon. So spotting challenges and probing solutions in terms of technology as well as adoption. And through all of those brainstorms and classes we teach here at MIT Media Lab, we collaborated and created an array of solutions from solutions for hearing challenge, solutions for sleep apnea, for new types of halters for continuous ECG, new types of otoscopes, and many of them, as you will see, going forward. And that all have an element of crowdsourcing, machine learning, computer vision, graph theory, and so on. And so kind of really doing this fusion of physical and digital and applying it to various sectors. And after we got some confidence in those co-innovation models, we targeted Kumbh Mela in Nasik, and Sunil is here, who at that time was still in Nasik. And we brainstormed and we said, let's look at a much wider array of problems in food, in security, in civic issues, in transportation, in payments, and so on. And we engaged the MIT community and also wider community, look at how can we do this exchange. And this is just kind of a wild idea that we had that we could actually interface with local authorities as well as local businesses and education institutes to take this forward. So this co-innovation bug has been coming along together. And then today we'll hear about how, later on today you'll hear about how we're taking the Emerging Worlds platform and now really building off-site locations all over the world for co-innovation platform. Now, the October Members Week, which is 6 months from 6 months ago, we held our first Emerging Worlds workshop, very much like this. And at that time, we invited back a lot of our collaborators from Nasik and Mumbai and Hyderabad and other places to just share, some of the learnings. And we brainstormed the whole day thinking about, what are some models that work, what are some models that don't work, and how can we move forward. And some of the realizations, key realizations, are innovation does not mean startups. A lot of times people say shortcut innovation is to how do we stimulate startups. And often that means how do we create incubators, how do we create funds, how do we run classes and to do startups. And that's a very small piece of the puzzle. I think when it comes to solving grand challenges, we actually had to take one step back and think about, are the university models or the corporation models or the startup models the right ones to actually solve these grand challenges? Because if you just announce a challenge, often people who have nothing much else to do are the ones who will work on challenges. On the other hand, if you make a research topic, like we would do at a university, then often the incentive for a master's or a PhD student are to make sure they work alone. The work can be attributed to a single individual. They work solo for 3 to 5 years. And their incentives are to create high-quality, publishable results. And if you go to corporates, then they have to see through the fog and be able to see the end result even before they can take the risks. And so we are in a situation where a lot of these grand challenges remain kind of in the empty spaces where innovation happens by serendipity, not by design. And so Emerging Worlds is an effort to do this by design. And Desh Deshpande, one of my mentors, and many of you know him, often says that in places like Bay Area or Boston, we can use startups to do innovation because there are enough people, enough crazy people who want to do a startup. Many of them will fail, but hopefully some of them will go and solve the problems that really matter because we have abundance of innovators and entrepreneurs to tackle them. But when you go to Emerging Worlds, there are very, very few people who are willing to take those risks and very, very few people who are actually talented and trained to do that. And we don't want to use the same model that we used in California or Boston or other hubs and say, copy-paste that model and use it elsewhere. The same venture model, the same startup model, and so on. So we really have to see how we can take this very scarce resource, which is talented people who are willing to take risk, innovators and entrepreneurs, and make sure they have the highest chance of success. And so, innovation is not just about entrepreneurship. Innovation is not just about startups. Need is not demand. And there are many of these lessons that we learned over the last several years of how we can tackle these grand challenges. So what are some kind of challenges that we're already looking at? And you'll hear about it from some of our collaborators. And when TCS, who's a founding partner at the Nasik Innovation Center, will share with us their thoughts, came to us, they said, let's look at digital technologies in a highly scalable way. And then Facebook, which is another new Emerging Worlds member, came to us, and let's look at how can we really connect individuals to have social computing for good. And there's some other partners we'll hear about in the afternoon sessions. And some of the grand challenges we are looking at are how can we have a street address for the remotest person on earth? Or how can we have high quality vision, just ability to see for individual no matter what condition they have? How can we have a global 911? Something that we take for granted. How can we create a wearable for $1 that can be used for all kinds of purposes, from education, health, transport, and so on? What's the next digital platform We had mainframes, we had PCs, we had mobiles. What's the next digital platform will have people moving forward? If you have cameras everywhere, not as a big brother or surveillance, but we have cameras everywhere, how will that transform our society? If we have to move away from capital-intensive way of building cities, like street furniture, street pipes, or traffic lights, or transportation systems, or education systems, how can we move away from that to more self-organized, self-correcting, self-measuring, distributed solutions? How can we build DIY traffic lights, for example? How can we build a CAT scan machine that fits in a rickshaw? How can we look at circulating tumor cells by something that looks like a blood pressure cuff? How can we create internet connections, not through drones, not through satellite, not through cable, but by using TV stations and FM radio? And so a lot of opportunities at various scales in time and space and people. And we just want to spend the day today as a working meeting. As Beth and John said, this is not something you just listen, but a lot of brainstorming, a lot of discussion. We have some great speakers to set the tone, and we're delighted to have many of our corporate partners in the room moving forward. And I'll hand it over to Vlad. I'll hand it over to John, who will introduce Vlad. Thank you, and welcome.